I just love being in a room full of people that all, are there to play Lorcana.
And giving people ideas, and also going out of the box sometimes, taking cards or ideas that people are afraid to hop into because they're just so used to net decking.
Like going in, people weren't thinking it was one of the top 4 or 5, maybe even 6 decks.
In like 4 days, I'm thankful that we get it earlier than you guys because daytime comes here in EU before
I can complete my master sets at some point, but at this point, I'm just trying to get 4 of everything to play.
Yeah, how's it going, everyone? My name is Loremeisters, and this is the Loremeisters podcast. For this week's episode, we have one of the ultra megatonic content creators in Disney Lorcana, Zach Hannibal, who most of you know as Steadfast. Steadfast is a 30-year-old art director and a creative strategist in the gaming industry, who's from Orange County, California. He is also a YouTuber who makes content on the side, and his channel is all about gaming and board games. And nowadays, he is mostly focused on Disney Lorcana. He has a background in graphic design and illustration, and still works as a freelancer artist till today. He has worked in gaming and esports full-time for over 5 years doing creative marketing. Beyond video games, tabletop games are a huge hobby of his, and he owns over 200 of them. When it comes to competitive gaming, some of his past accolades are Season 1 Legend Ranked in Hearthstone, Season 1 Infinite Rank in Marvel Snap, and Season 1 Diamond Ranked in Teamfight Tactics. In terms of card games, or TCGs specifically, he has collected Pokemon for years, but never played until recently, where he climbed to Master Rank in 1 week. Other than that, and this last year of playing Lorcana, he's basically new to TCGs. Lorcana is basically his first competitive, over-the-top table card game. However, his experience and fundamentals are informed by digital card games, plus a ton of great card-based board games like Arkham Horror LCG, The Lord of the Rings LCG, Res Arcana, and Wingspan. He is also a huge Disney fan. It was creative cartoons and games from Disney, Nintendo, and other games and shows that led him into becoming a designer and an illustrator. That love for Disney only grew over time. And when Lorcana was announced, he saw it right away since he keeps up with the board and card games news. He knew he had to get into it since he loved both games and Disney IPs in general. His strengths are creative deck building, plus the ability to communicate deck strategy and bridge the gap between casual and competitive play. He plugged all those things into making video content, and the rest is history. His favorite thing about Lorcana and gaming as a whole is how it brings people together around the table. This, the shared passion/hobby, leads to greater connection and communion with family, friends, and soon-to-be friends. How's it going, everyone? We're finally here with Steadfast. I've been trying to get this interview for a long time now, and we've finally made it happen. Steadfast is one of the very first content creator, if not the very first content creator that I watched in Disney Lorcana when I was trying to get in. How are you doing today?
Hey man, how's it going, man? We definitely have been trying to make this happen for a while, and I'm very excited to be on. I'm happy that we finally got it to work, and we're both here chatting about Lorcana.
Yeah, I think it all happened for the best as well, because the timing of this is during Set 5 release, and knowing you creating all these crazy decks, being one of the pioneers of multiple decks in the scene, and giving people ideas, and also going out of the box sometimes, and taking cards or ideas that people are afraid to hop into because they're just so used to net decking. I really like that about you when it comes to deck making stuff.
Oh, sure, man. I mean, look, my favorite thing about Lorcana is making creative decks. So that's kind of what I do. I just sit there and I'm like, man, what isn't being played right now? And, I'm not necessarily trying to break the meta or anything. I'm just trying to have fun with it. So I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it just makes Lorcana more fun, right? Because I myself do play some meta decks, but I do get tired seeing the same exact decks over and over and over again. Sometimes it's nice to see some spices, and this is like one of the reasons why I love players like you and another fellow Zach Bivens. Like, he always brings something new to the meta. I like that. Speaking of Zach Bivens, I've seen some pictures of you guys in Texas on a recent DLC that just happened. How was that experience? That's got to be so awesome, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was in the challenge in Dallas. I was out there with a bunch of friends from out here in California. We all got a big Airbnb and stayed together, and it was awesome, man. I just love being in a room full of people that all are there to play Lorcana. And I talked about the creative deck building being my favorite component, but I also love just really diving to competitive play during leading up to those sort of events. That's super fun for me. And like I said, I love meeting everybody, seeing a bunch of different creators, a bunch of different people that I know, and meeting new people. And yeah, Dallas was just a blast.
Yeah. Speaking of meta and being creative, this is probably not like the most creative thing, but it's creative enough because we've seen this deck before, and I'm about to talk about Amber Emerald Sing Together here. We've seen it being played here and there, but not at that caliber that we've seen in Disney Lorcana Challenge in Fort Worth. Was that something that you were expecting? Because there was so many of them on day 2.
Yeah, I think there was a surprising amount of them on day 2, based on the fact that it wasn't one of the more played decks. I don't have the exact numbers, but going in, people weren't thinking it was one of the top 4 or 5, maybe even 6 decks. And so it's pretty exciting to see a deck like that happen. That yellow-green song deck was kind of popular in the beginning of set 4, and then it fell off. And then we saw it kind of bubble back up to the top for the challenge. And that's pretty exciting. Nobody in my group was playing that deck, but I did play against it on day 2. I didn't make top cut, but I played in the 8-round side event day 2. And I got to play against it, and it's just a super fun deck with kind of a surprise factor that sometimes matters.
Yeah, that element of surprise is definitely something to look out for. Like what I mentioned before, I remember going back to Disney Lorcana Challenge in Atlanta, that Amber Amethyst mid-range deck caught people off guard, right? And I was watching that after Lille because we're a day ahead basically compared to NA, and after that I was hanging out with Pavel, other creators, and just the community in general, and we were watching that. We were drinking in a bar and we were watching that, and when they said Amber Amethyst, I was like, hyper aggro made it. Like I'm so happy because I'm a big fan of aggro decks, and they're like, no, it's a mid-range deck with Fairy Godmother. That element of surprise is definitely huge.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that deck in particular, I think the most surprising thing it did was, dodge steal right when it needed to.
Yeah.
So that, and if it can do that, it just destroys everyone. And so it was awesome. And then when it comes to, the newer sets, like we're talking about green, yellow being surprising, that kind of deck can really take people off guard because everybody's sort of net decking the top 4 or 5 decks because there's not as many ways to practice online. And so, you get to the table, you expect to know exactly how to play against Bucky and Castle and, Blue Steel, and then you come up against this song deck that many players, haven't even maybe practiced against. So, yeah, that surprise factor, it's always going to be a factor.
Yeah.
And that's what's exciting about creative deck building, for sure.
Yeah, I do agree with that. From time to time, not on like rank on stream. I used to do it in Pixelborn when it was still up, but I obviously we don't have that anymore. So I've been playing Ruby Amethyst to climb the ladders. But from time to time, going to my LGS, I usually bring something that they've never seen before, and I love that element of surprise. Of course, it has some weaknesses, but the advantages of knowing what your opponent is going to be playing, knowing what they're going to do, because like what you said, I know how to play against Castle. I know how to play against this card or that card, but they don't know how to play against mine because they've never seen this before. It's hard for them to predict what's going to be my next play. And yeah, I'm super excited with that. Now, I want to try to get to know you a bit more. When it comes to Lorcana, especially set 5 is about to come out here in like 4 days. I'm thankful that we get it earlier than you guys because daytime comes here in EU before NA. But how much do you usually collect? Do you collect a full play set of everything? Do you get like one of everything, or do you have like kind of like a certain like mark? Hey, I'm gonna get these amount of boxes and that's it, and I'll buy singles after.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of changed a bit since set 1. Like in set 1, I was like full play set, including foils. And then I had at least 4 copies of every card. So, that was like my base. And then when it came to like staple cards, like, back in set 1, there were multiple cards or multiple decks that, were like an aggro amber deck. It's kind of like set 5, honestly. But in set 1, I had 12 copies of Lilo and Simba and Rockstar Stitch and stuff like that because I wanted to have multiple decks ready to go. But as the sets go on, I don't need 3 play sets of every card. So it's usually just one full set for the binder, and a play set of everything after that. And I've started slowing down on getting every single foil and things like that. So maybe I can go back and complete my master sets at some point. But at this point, I'm just trying to get 4 of everything to play. So
yeah,
that's kind of how it goes.
Is there like a certain like ritual that you have? Like for me at least, I'm just gonna share this. On set 1 to 3, I told myself, okay, 1 case per set, and then after set 1 to 3, I'll probably settle down with one box, 1 trove, and I play so much LGS and stuff and leagues, so I kind of get all the cards anyways throughout the whole set. But as a creator, you probably can feel this as well. Like sometimes we have to get some cards right off the bat in order to present some things. But do you have a ritual like that at all?
The typical thing is I'll get two booster boxes, and then I'll just buy the singles I need after that. And then typically like halfway through the set or within the first couple weeks, I'll win another box worth just from playing locals or whatever. So I would say I get like about 3 boxes worth and then just buy the singles, which to me is like a good way to do it because you can get a lot of staples, and then it's at that point it's too difficult to hunt down like 4 of every legendary or whatever. So I'll just buy all the singles. And so the key there is just trying to buy them at the right time, like before people realize they're good or whatever.
Yeah, that's very true. I remember during beginning of set 4, I got a foil Sisu and I sold it for like 25 pounds because I had to go to Lille. And I'm like, why did I do that? Because the prices went skyrocketing after a few weeks. But yeah, I totally feel you on that. Also, it kind of keeps everything exciting, right? When you buy like 2-3 boxes, you get a good amount of cards, like what you said, and throughout the set you play on LGS tournaments and stuff like that. And it makes those wins more exciting because now you get some packs you get to open. You're not like, well, I kind of already have like 95% of the set, right? Like opening this doesn't make me excited anymore because it's just another bulk. I would much rather like sell it, but yeah, I totally agree on the 2-3 box per set.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How much do you play when it comes to local game stores, when it comes to leagues and tournaments around you? How much do you usually participate in?
Yeah, well, I feel super blessed that I live in Southern California, where if I really wanted to, I could play every single day of the week, depending on how far I wanted to drive. There's a lot of different card shops here. I sort of have different phases. Sometimes I'll be playing like a couple times a week, especially if I'm trying to test a particular deck in person, or if I'm preparing for an event. And then I'll take weeks off, whether it's because I'm busy or I'm traveling or maybe I'm doing something else. Um, but I'd say it probably averages out to like once or twice a week, especially at the beginning of the set, maybe 3 times a week that I'm playing LGS. Because yeah, I mean, for me, I just love being across the table from people and playing cards. So
Yeah.
I've always been more of a locals player than a digital player, just in general. So
Yeah, I do feel you on that. I do about the same. I go to there's
yeah,
a lot of LGSs here because I live by Glasgow, and that's kind of like the center of Scotland where everyone goes, and there's multiple LGSs that I could go, but I try to limit myself with like 1 to 2 a week, like what you said. Like things can get busy, especially now that I'm a dad. Like I try to like spend a lot of time with with my kid, but yeah, that's exciting. I remember when I still lived there. You are in Orange County now. I remember when I still lived there. I wasn't very into TCGs yet. I played a lot of digital card games at the time, but I kind of wish that I did because there's just so many LGSs in Orange County.
yeah, for sure. There's a ton of support for card games. It's funny though because we haven't really had despite the local scene, we haven't really had a ton of big events. Like I remember I played at like a 5K and got like I got top 10, just short of top 8, and like I want to do more of that kind of stuff, but there's really not that many events. There's been like a case tournament and things like that, and nothing official from Ravensburger. So I mean, maybe the Continental will be in Anaheim, but I could see it being in Orlando. So, but
Yeah.
at some point, it's got to come back to Anaheim, right? I mean, that
Yeah.
just makes sense. So.
Speaking of Anaheim, are you going to downtown Disney to pick up a D23? Is that something that you're looking
Oh
forward
yeah,
to?
I'll be there Friday for sure. Yeah.
I'm traveling all the way to London so I can get mine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, luckily I live about 4 miles from Disney, so
Yeah.
it's really not that bad for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have to ride the bus overnight from Thursday night all the way to London just so I can get my hands in one of them. But
You got to do what you got to do, man.
yeah. I'm super excited. Like it's once in a while, right? Like we don't get to do that a lot. And to be frankly honest with you, this is like my outlet now. I don't really like go out and party or do any of that. The only thing that I do is family and Lorcana. So like traveling to that place, it's super far. It's not that crazy anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, but it's a good way to meet people, and and it's a good hobby. If your hobbies are family and Lorcana, then that's perfect because we got to remember, like we talk about all these different competitive events and the meta and stuff, but Lorcana is a family weight game. Like it's meant to be played. It's got Disney cartoons on it, and it's an awesome game for families. And I think that's something that people should celebrate for sure.
Yeah. And it's like what you mentioned on the intro as well. I've had that experience myself this past year joining Lorcana because I just moved from Cali all the way here to Scotland and I had no friends. Like my first year over here, it's not like depressing lonely, but it is pretty lonely in terms of like not having friends to go out with or hang out with. And when Lorcana came out, I started going to LGS, and I recently posted a picture in Twitter where those friends that I met are now my really, really good friends. We don't just do Lorcana. We go out, we have barbecues, we visit each other's house for a coffee or tea, and just chat. It definitely brings people together.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's the goal of any hobby, and I think card games tend to do a really good job at bringing people together that normally wouldn't even be friends, which is cool because you end up with like a really interesting friend group.
Yeah, there are individuals that you'd never expect that you'd meet in your life. Like one of my good friends right now, he's a professor in university. We would have never like meet each other aside from Lorcana. And yeah, I'm grateful for Lorcana being here in terms of that. Now, I know what people have been waiting for with this interview. I spoke to my chat. I spoke to a lot of my friends. We want to get into set 5 because as a master brewer like you, and you have a lot of insight when it comes to cards, values, and deck ideas. So let's get in with it. You sent me here a top 10 list that you're gonna have as a video as well. So make sure, guys, check out the links down below. Click those links, click subscribe, follow, all of that, and check out the new video for this top 10. So let's talk about this top 10 cards that you chose for set 5.
All right, let's do it.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, do you want to kick it off, or you want me to kick it off?
Let's have you kick it off. It was your pick, after all.
Yeah, I guess just some general thoughts. In general, I would say I'm a Ruby player because when it comes to competitive, I play red purple, I play red blue, and I play Ruby Mufasa. So. And even when I'm playing meme decks, I'm playing like red steel. So I'm kind of a Ruby player at the end of the day. And so I'm a little disappointed that I don't think there are that many good Ruby cards. None of them made my top 10. I think probably the best one is the Ruby Chromacon. It just definitely helps out early item decks like red blue. But other than that, I think, speaking of red blue, I think blue might be the winner of the set for me. Like, obviously there's Pete and Daisy and Naveen, but when you get past those, you start getting into Cusco and Hideaway, and Tipo, and it keeps going. Like, I think
Donald Duck as well. I like that card.
Yeah, Donald. I think Vision of the Future. I think that's what it's called. It's like an upgraded. It's an upgraded Develop Your Brain.
Develop Your Brain, yeah.
And I don't know if you've been keeping up with red blue, but there's that guy Dinka. He's been playing the Dig a Little Deeper. And he just qualified for on both sides of the pond for Continental. Me and him were playing the same list in Dallas because me and him play tested together. And to me, Dig a Little Deeper is a little bit of a meme, but it's really strong when it works. And I think Vision of the Future is an inkable version of Dig a Little Deeper in a way. You look at 5 cards and you keep one. And so in red blue in particular, I think it's a really strong card in the late game. And all these blue cards are sort of like really supporting that type of play style. Now, on the other hand, aggro is rearing its head and it's very strong. So I don't think these blue cards look as good on the surface right now. But if things change and we start fighting back against aggro, I think some of the control decks like blue-red or blue-steel can really come back with these types of cards. So anyways, that's kind of my general view of the sort of top 10. Obviously, we could talk about Pete or Daisy as well if you want.
yeah. I was going to go through like the top 10, but like, it's like what you said, like all these control decks, they love the meta so far from basically starting at set 2 to set 4 where aggro has been absent. It hasn't been there. I know a lot of decks, they have some aggro aspects, but they're not true aggro decks. And now we're gonna get into this with a lot of or set 5 with a lot of new juice for aggro, both from Amber, from Amethyst, and there's probably a few other cards that Control might struggle because Control's biggest weakness is aggro, right? It's the speed, and they need to be able to adapt so they can somewhat keep up and survive the early game. Otherwise, they would get knocked off.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen some metas throughout Lorcana with aggro, and the problem was like you could get to 12 lore, but then you run out of cards in your hand. And so the idea after that was, well, let's put in some cards to let us draw. And then it sort of became more of a mid-range deck because by the time you can actually finish the game, it's more of a tempo deck or a mid-range deck. Like you were saying, there's aggro, but it's not true hyper aggro. Yeah. And so now in set 5, we've kind of been given some tools to where it's like, if I only draw 15 cards in the entire game, which is like what, like 10 turns deep or not even, then I can still win with just those cards off the top. And so it's hyper aggro is like actually, a lot more feasible right now. I
Yeah.
do think people are going to adapt. I don't necessarily think it's like a dangerous bad thing, but it's kind of fun. It's kind of refreshing, right? To have that kind of come
Yeah.
back into the game.
And we
Yeah.
finally will get the rock paper scissors, like a true rock paper scissors, not just like, okay, emerald steel beats ruby amethyst beats these other
Mhm.
decks, and then these other decks beats what do you call this, emerald steel. Now it's the actual rock paper scissors of the archetypes, where aggro gets beaten by mid-range decks like Steel Song, right? And then Steel Song gets beaten by more controlly decks like Steel Blue, and then Steel Blue or like Red Blue gets beaten by aggro. And I'm excited for this. Now, going into your top 10 list, let's start with your number 10 pick, Revive. Why Revive
Yeah,
on 10?
Revive is, well, it's on 10 because I think I might be wrong and it could be really bad, but I think there's a chance that it finds its way into play. There's a lot of different 5 cost cards that are really good to revive, and this type of card. I mean, Lorcana is my first TCG, but I know enough to know that this type of card is very good in other TCGs, and it's made ban lists and things like that. So yeah, I think that alone, just fundamentally, it deserves some acknowledgement. And I've been playtesting a ton with proxies. Well, not a ton, but as much as I can with proxies. I haven't been able to touch on Revive all too much, so that's why it's a bit unknown when it comes to my top 10. But like I said, I think it has some interesting interactions with other set 5 cards, like the red Robin Hood can actually search for it and play it. So maybe there's like a weird like red
Yeah,
yellow
that's
revive
exciting.
deck, because then you can revive Mufasa, but maybe even Jim Hawkins and things like that. So I
Yeah.
don't know. It just from a deck building perspective, it's there's a lot of things that spark off, and so I was fine with putting it at 10, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I could see it jumping up, or I could see it kind of falling off. So that's kind of what the 10 spot is for me.
Yeah, it's kind of like a toolbox card as well, right? Because like as the game keeps
Mhm.
going, there's gonna be multiple different cards with multiple different purposes that you're gonna play. And when the revive card comes and when its moment comes, you now have 10 different choices in your deck. Do I need to go aggressive and put more pressure on the board? Do I need more control on the board? Or do I just need a solid body on the board to have presence on the board? And I like that about cards like Revive. And I'm excited to see what you're gonna make with this. It's definitely gonna be fun. I'm gonna try and test some of the decks that you have, and Revive definitely is one of the cards that I'm looking forward to check out. Now for your number 9 list, Tipo, Growing Sun. I like this card.
Yeah, I mean he's a pretty cool card. I think I was super excited for him going in, and I think he's fallen a little bit, but yeah, I mean you do have to ink from your hand when you play him, but if you're that aside, he's basically just another way to ink on turn 2 with Sapphire, and so I think again fundamentally that's like a really 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 strong thing to have. Um, and I think he's already. It's funny. I've already seen him sort of like be in a bunch of lists, and then people take him out and say that he's not good, and then people put him back, and it's just it's one of those things where people are gonna figure it out eventually. But I think it when everything settles, he'll be considered like a really good staple card in Sapphire.
Yeah, it's also just neat, and it's nice that Sapphire has more cards that can keep doing what they're doing, which is ramping. That's what they want to do, but at the same time have some presence on the board, which is pretty nice. Now, going to number 8. Mufasa, ruler of Pride Rock. I'm surprised this is at number 8 because this card is on top of everyone's list. Would you mind enlightening us why this is number 8?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think there's no doubt he's strong. It kind of reminds me of like a card like um, Mickey BLT. Like when this card hits the board, you're like, oh crap! Like this is a scary card. But I think he is going to suffer a bit from just being a high cost uninkable. Um, and there's a lot of high cost uninkables in this set. There's a lot of these different sort of like Gastons and Sheriff of Nottinghams and things like that, which they could be very good, but at some point, Lorcana cards just need to be very consistent, very impactful right away. And so those are some things that kind of hold him back. But I mean, everything else about him is great. He's a huge threat when he hits the board. He's difficult to remove, especially for some decks won't even be able to remove him. And he gives you your cards back. When you quest with him, you sort of get to take a second turn. Yeah, I mean, everything about him is really good. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's some nuances about it that hold him back, but he definitely deserves a spot in the top 10, I think. And so far, I haven't really seen him played all that much. I haven't tested with him too much. So, I'm excited to see how that goes, going into next week. So.
Yeah, as a type of card that if it sticks and see the light of the next turn, most likely the game is gonna be close to over or over, because it just does so much. I tested against this. I didn't play it myself, and it came down on turn 4, and that was super scary. The game wasn't even close.
Yeah, but like if he comes on turn 4. Yeah, I mean, I get it. That's early, but you do reverse ink yourself back too. But it doesn't matter, I guess, at that point. I think he's going to be best in Sapphire Steel, because imagine playing him, and then like the only way to get rid of him is like let it go or be prep or whatever, and then you just play a Pete after him. Like it's just game over. Like
yeah, that's true. That's true.
They gotta have like Hades or Dragon, like so.
Yeah. The next one is the 7th. I slept on this. This is now pretty high on my list. This next card, ladies and gentlemen, Amethyst Chromicon. I was not a big fan because it's such a scary card to play, because your opponent draws as well, and you draw as well, and you can do this every single turn for free. And for me, that was pretty scary, but I definitely see all the value now. Why don't you enlighten us about this card?
Yeah, I think this is one that could easily jump up in rating, because to me this card is so flexible. It can be in any type of deck, and I'll go into the more details, or I already have in my video, so check that out. But basically, it can be in an aggro deck or a control deck. So in a control deck, if you've played in set 1, you played Magic Mirror, very similar to Magic Mirror. You can just draw a card every turn for free, no additional cost.
Yeah.
It's not even uninkable. So if you don't want your opponent to draw cards, you just ink this. But right now in aggro, it's running amok, because with so many 1-drop characters, it's super easy on turn 3 to just play whatever, play one of these, draw a card, and then you're just drawing an extra card every turn from that point on the game. Yes, your opponent draws a card, but if, like I said in my video, if your opponent draws half of their deck, but you have 18 lore and draw into Merlin Goat, then you don't care if they have 30 cards in their hand.
Exactly.
It's not always that simple, but that's sort of the theory behind it. Is if this card is getting you to the end of the game incredibly fast, then the resource differential of your cards and your opponent's cards don't matter as much. So.
Nope. No, that's definitely true. Yeah. I don't know why I didn't realize that, because I revealed Daisy Duck, and on my video, I literally said that it doesn't matter how many cards your opponent has if you're gonna finish it at turn 5, right? And then I slept on it. But going to number 6, I do like this card as well. I think it has some flexibility, but the first keyword for it is very juicy for blue, because this is what you guys struggle with Sapphire. Number 6 card is Cusco, Selfish Emperor. Let's talk about this card.
Yeah, I'll talk about him and the next card at the same time. The next card is Hideaway, because they both do the same thing. They let you ink an opponent's item or location. So they're kind of like Rise of the Titans or Hard-Headed Beast, right?
Yep.
But what they do differently is they ink the card instead of destroying it. So first of all, you get this great, hard removal other than characters in Sapphire, and you get to ink the stuff. So really, what comes to mind is you get to ink the opponent's lucky dime.
Yeah.
So when you remove it, it's in their inkwell now, not in their discard. So Tamatoa cannot save the day. So if these become popular, if this card existed in set 4, I think people would have had to run 3 lucky dimes. It's that sort of thing. But the reason why I like these cards is they're inkable, they're flexible. You could ink something on your side of the board if you wanted to, which is why I rank Hideaway one slot up, is because I think it could actually function as a 1 jump ahead. You play a 1-cost item like Fortisphere. A lot of times you play Fortisphere, you draw a card, nothing happens after that. Then you hide away your own Fortisphere, and then you can now play like a 4-cost character.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'd rather use 1 jump if you have Hiram, but I think it's just the flexibility is very valuable to me. Cusco also has good stats. He quests for 2, so both of these cards in Sapphire are just really welcome additions. So
yeah. That's exactly what the person that I play tested with. He was number 1, or he is number 1 on a hardcore rank for Pixelborn Connect, and he plays Steel Sapphire. And that's exactly what he said with Hideaway. It's so flexible that you can turn your item, if you're not going to play for Hiram, and turn your item into an ink. And it's just such a really good answer to what kills blue in general, which is the Flynn Sisu castle. And now it's like, okay, I'll spend 2 to banish your or to ink your castle, and I'll play another card because I have so many ink.
It's only 2, yeah. That's why Cusco is nice, and I think Cusco is the first one people sort of look to. But I think Hideaway is better, and I think in some ways maybe Cusco even falls off the list if Hideaway is the clear answer. But I wasn't exactly sure, so I have them both up here because they're both really strong.
Yeah, and Cusco as well can fill in a couple of spots, because we might not even see Flaversham anymore. I mean not Flaversham, Cogsworth anymore.
Whoa,
Flaversham's way too good, way too good.
Yeah.
But
Cogsworth.
Yeah, because it basically does what Cogsworth do as well, but more, because it can do the first thing that we were talking about.
The resist part?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe so. I think Cogsworth, I think Cogsworth is just there because he has Ward, honestly, like a lot of the time. So keep that. But Cusco will definitely replace Hard-Headed Beast, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The next one, speaking of Cogsworth, it's the new Cogsworth Illuminary Watchman. 1 cost, right? And it can give rush to whoever you want. And that's such a big thing. Talk to us about this card.
Yeah, this card, I'm pretty hot on this card right now. Like when I first started, testing some stuff and writing the script for my top 10, he was in my honorable mentions. And then every day, I worked on this maybe a week. Every day he just is like climbing up because he's so good. Like for 1 ink, you give one of your characters one of the best keywords in the game, rush.
Yeah.
And he sort of reminds me of like Pinocchio, Talkative Puppet, the one that lets you play it and you turn an opposing character. Like the way in Amethyst you can just bounce it back, keep it safe, use it again, is sort of how it's the gameplay loop of this Cogsworth. We saw in set 1 you could pocket watch your Aladdins and all this kind of stuff. I don't know if that's gonna. Yeah, it was good. I don't know if that's gonna necessarily make a return, but if you wanted to, this is a much better way to accomplish that. And then I also think you can you can Cogsworth. You can like play Cogsworth, give himself rush, and then play like Merlin Crab, and then you have a 4 rush that can take out Daisy or whatever. So anyways, it's just such a flexible card that every single day that I thought about it or played with it, it just got better and better. So yeah, I think that'll be the case for most people. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, and I just want to follow up on what you said. after you give rush as well, it's there's still a body there. The 1/1 body can either cross, can get buffed, can be a bounce target, and it's just a really cheap investment for such a strong keyword. And I think this is going to see a lot of plays as well. This might be one of the keys as well to making Blurple good. Because Blurple fans out there have been trying to make Blurple work. And this might be it, because they got a lot of new toys for the new set. Yeah.
For sure.
The next one, this one is pretty high up on my list as well. And one of the cards that I'm super scared of is Prince Naveen, Ukulele Player. Let's talk about this card.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably the most hyped legendary of the set. I haven't played with him as much as some of the other cards because to me it's pretty obvious. Like you just throw him into a Steel Song list and he's just all of a sudden really good. One of the reasons why is his curve from Aerial into him is just chef's kiss, like perfect. You play Aerial, you find whatever you need, you play Naveen, it gets played. The next turn, if you wanted to, you could sing together 11.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to. I mean, so he's a good card. I'm more excited about, sort of like creatively playtesting with him in other colors other than steel. So that's kind of what I'm excited about. But yeah, he's a solid card.
Yeah, there's a lot of like ideas as well that I have, like kind of like the new song, the 6-cost song with the Aladdin on the art, the one that you can pick a name in the discard, and my thoughts are like, okay, if we play this card in a deck with purple, there's a lot of mims, there's a lot of Merlins that you want to get back. Getting back a rabbit is such a big advantage, like in my opinion. Mm-hmm. If a card like this can sing it or play it for free, for free. But yeah, it's definitely like what you said, chef's kiss when it comes to playing Aerial and turn for Naveen as well. And one of the things I just want to like mention as well is that a lot of people are like comparing this with, because some people put this low on their list, and I'm like, I don't get it. They're comparing it to Jim Hawkins, and I'm like, Jim Hawkins is with location. We do not have a lot of ultra megatonic locations the way we do with Songs and Steel. Like that's a big difference, right?
It's a huge difference. In my video, I talk about the comparison with Jim Hawkins, because Jim Hawkins was also, when he was revealed, people were so hype on him, like this guy is so good, and I still think he is good. But like you were saying, the difference between the amount of playable locations and songs is big. The difference between the ability to scout for songs versus locations is big. And those are all very notable differences that I think people are going to notice immediately between the two cards.
Yeah, definitely. The next one, I think we all put this pretty high on our list. And this is a Pete Game Reverie. Let's talk about this really, really good card.
Yep. So spoiler alert, I have Pete at number 2 and Daisy at number 1, which I don't know. I feel like that's pretty controversial. Everybody has Pete at number 1. And I definitely understand. I think if the aggro meta, starts to fall off a bit, then he's going to be the clear number 1. But yeah, he just fundamentally changes how the game works. He turns off actions. If you've played with Tiana Celebrating Princess, it's pretty strong, but he's way better because it happens right away. You don't have to jump through all these loops of emptying your hand and turning him sideways and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I still don't know exactly to the extent of how he's going to change the game, but I've already seen, people play testing with like red blue with maxing out Sisu, not playing any B prep and stuff like that, just because they're afraid of Pete. So that's pretty funny. Like, it's pretty funny. Like, I don't know. So
yeah.
I think the reason why he's so good though is like when he hits the board, it's until your next turn. So even if you take him out, you still can't play in action.
Yeah.
So that's pretty strong.
Yeah, and with purple as well, they can bounce this back and forth and keep replaying it over and over again. And this is one of the reasons why I think Amber Ruby is going to be much better than it was from last set. It's because Amber Ruby is basically actions on a stick. They have a lot of characters that can basically remove yours, get value from it, and this might be a workaround that area.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I don't know. There's not much else to say about Pete. I think everybody's going to be seeing a lot of him pretty soon. So,
yeah. And now we're going to number one. Number one is also my number one because I'm a big aggro fan. And you probably already saw this coming, everyone. It's Daisy Donald's Date. Let's talk about how good this card is.
Yeah, I'll just give a little teaser about Daisy. Basically, you play one of her on turn one, you play two of her on turn two, and depending on the matchup, you win the game. So that alone puts her in the top number one. I mean, at least right now. Like if it's a right now top 10, she's my number one. So I think that combined with Amber's ability to protect her with bodyguards and things like that just make her extremely powerful, and she's spearheading the aggro movement that we're seeing right now. So
yeah,
that's Daisy.
yeah. No, turn one Daisy, turn two Daisies, turn three Chromicom with another Daisy.
Yeah,
and just keep drawing one cost.
If you do that, I'm calling a judge.
I'm calling
stacking his daisies.
Hey, that's illegal. There's other like cards as well that you kind of did like an honorable mention to. Other good cards, of course. They might not be in the top 10, but they're still pretty good cards. And we're gonna talk about this too. And we'll do a faster way of talking with this. We'll go through it really fast, just so people would have an idea of like what are the other cards that have a possibility of seeing play. Let's start with Sven, Reindeer Steed.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a sort of it's an Amber LeFou.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a super big fan of LeFou, so if it's introduced in Amber, then I'm a big fan. I mean, this is another card that's been played in aggro, and it makes sense. You get to protect your characters just an extra turn deep into your curve.
Yeah, so. And you don't have to run red. You can do it with purple.
Oh, sure. Yeah, exactly.
With Amethyst. Next one is Elsa, the Fifth Spirit.
Yeah, this one is one that some people are like super hot on in their top 5 and stuff like that. I get it, but to me it's sort of falls just short of the top 10, but she's got rush and evasive. So
exerts.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And she exerts. So that's 3 really good things in one card that's inkable. So I do get it. I do see why she's so beloved.
Yeah. Next one, I was pretty high on this and then I went a little low. I just don't know where I'm going to play this. It's a really good card, but I don't know where I'm going to play it. Madam M Elephant.
Yeah, this one is just fundamentally such good stats. Like you said, it's hard to fit a 4-cost character in, especially in Amethyst. There's already, really good 4-cost characters, but I think there are going to be plenty of times where people want to fit 2 of these into their bounce package and have 10 bounces, 2 of them being an elephant. That's really difficult to remove, especially from like a steel deck.
Yeah.
So yeah, that seems good to me.
Yeah. This is definitely a great answer if we go into a steel song meta. This is something that they're gonna struggle to remove.
That's true, yeah.
Next one is one of the cards that I'm super scared of. I think this is gonna see a lot of play. Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom.
Yeah, this is one that like I wasn't really too excited about, but then people have sort of proved me wrong. Like it's just a goat bounce that costs 2 lore, you know what I mean? So as long as you don't brick with these cards and you can get to double-digit lore, like they're very good. I think if your deck doesn't have card draw, it can be a problem. But if it does, and luckily Amethyst does have card draw, then yeah, they can be pretty good.
Yeah, the next one has got to be my favorite for Amethyst. It's because it's my turn 6 play against Be Prepared, and this is the Library, a Gift for Belle.
Okay, so you like dropping down the double library or
No,
what?
just single library. Put
Uh-huh.
3 inside the library. I'm not scared to be prepared anymore.
Oh, I got you. I got you. Yeah,
In
yeah.
turn 6,
It.
yeah.
I think that's good. I think I like dropping double library or library plus castle or whatever. But yeah, it's just a mini castle. It's a mini castle with it's inkable. It's got one lore. It's got uh, good willpower, and yeah, I mean, it's gonna be at least solid. I think any meta where you want four castles, you could also add some libraries.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and not being scared of overextending because your cards are safe. They
They're
pay
safe
for
if
it
they get.
themselves.
Yep.
Yeah. Next one is Anna, Diplomatic Queen, AOE Exert. That sounds pretty scary to me, but where do you think we will see this? What deck do you think we will see this in?
This is the different Anna. This is the green one that has the three different.
Oh, the flexible
Yeah.
one. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
everyone.
No, you're good.
I do love this card as well.
Yeah, this one. This one's basically like if flexibility is your strength, then she's strong. She's got some things that hold her back for sure. Like she's essentially a 5-cost uninkable Emerald character. We've seen that many times, and so she's competing with Emerald to fit in with a bunch of other uninkables. But yeah, I don't know. I think she's strong. I think if there is a moment where Green Steel has a damage ping deck, she's going to be really good. And for that reason alone, I think she's worth mentioning.
Yeah. And just the flexibility, right? It's almost always guaranteed value for you because she pays for itself by discarding one of the opponent's card, and also you can banish a damaged character, which is pretty nice. Having those choices, I've seen this a lot in card games before, where there are cards that are sure it's extra more expensive, but also this card is just flexible and it can fit in a lot of different situations. Next one is You're Welcome.
Yeah, You're Welcome is, speaking of flexible, it deletes any type of card in green. Like that sounds awesome. Yes, your opponent gets to draw 2 cards. But I mean, I think that's a deserved, sort of balance for such a strong ability. It's it's an inkable song that can be sung for free, and it can banish any or bounce any sort of thing. So, very strong card. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I think you can also use it on your own stuff to draw cards.
With
so
rabbits.
keep that in mind.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Triple
For
draw.
Sure.
Yeah, it's basically Isma, but without the body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The next one is one of the cards that I'm scared of, and I'm preparing myself for this card, Prince John's Mirror.
Yeah, this one's tough. I think I mentioned it in the video, but like I think it's just not a fun card to play like against, or even play it yourself, because some matchups it's gonna do nothing. And then if you ever have 2 of them, there's no use of having 2 on the board. So luckily they're inkable. Like if they were uninkable, they'd be really bad, because literally having 2 does nothing. So if you have multiple in your hand, it would be really bad. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really like the idea of this type of negative interaction, but you know what? Maybe there'll be a moment where we have to deal with this. So we should talk about it.
At least it's a little more fair compared than Bucky, where I get to keep 3 of my cards, and maybe instead of like overdrawing, I just kind of feel it out, play and poke type of gameplay.
Yeah, that's true.
The next one is Ruby Chromicon. Another Chromicon made it to the list.
Yeah, this one's just really good. I mean, just fundamentally, if you can spin 1, give your character +1 strength, then Maui can kill Castle, and Grandma Tala can kill Daisy and Sisu and things like that. It's a turn 1 item, so any item deck can churn it for cards and things like that. So yeah, I think it's just there's nothing really bad about this card, so it's gonna be played.
Yeah. Next one is Sheriff of Nottingham Bushel. I think this is probably one of the only cards that I don't remember that I
Yeah,
placed
Sheriff
high.
Nottingham. So he's basically very high stats character. He's like a 9 cost, 4/9 or 5/9 or something with like 4 lore, and he costs 1 less for every item you have. So
Oh, I remember now. Yeah.
so he's
Item
like a
bug.
yeah, so he's like a turn 4 or 5 beast, like if you have items. So yeah, I just kind of like Mufasa. Like if he hits the board, it's kind of scary. So he's a good card. He's a good card.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I just wanted to mention because I got a chance to test out the starter decks, and the
Mhm.
Robin Hood felt really good. The green Robin Hood that it's basically, we call it in my chat as damage bog. We call all these cards bog because it's basically Sherna bog but different.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah,
this
yeah,
one
yeah.
is the damage bog. I was surprised of like how early I got to play it because of like how much damage counters there are on the opponent. Because if one character like Maui has 4 damage, that's -4 cost into the card.
Oh, is it actually the amount of damage, not the? Oh, interesting.
That's
Okay, that does
exactly
make
what
it
I
a lot
thought as
better.
well.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I remembered that, but it's definitely an important distinction to make.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean,
and it's
imagine combining
warded.
that. Yeah, and well, imagine combining that. This isn't really like something that'll probably see play, but it's a fun idea. Imagine combining that with the vision slab, so your opponent can't heal damage. And you just leave their Maui there the entire game. Like who cares? Like you just play all your Robin Hoods. I mean,
That's
I don't
very
know if that'll be
true.
good, but it's funny.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely something to experiment with. Next card is Britches. Let's talk about
Oh,
Britches.
that's the that's attached to the Sheriff of Nottingham. He's Sheriff of Nottingham, Bushel Bridges. That's like one card.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, what is Britches? That's why I'm trying to
Yeah,
like give it to you. The next one is Vision of the Future. This one is the Dig 5, right?
yeah. I talked about it earlier. It's just
Yeah.
a upgraded develop your brain. I think it's pretty good in a control deck. We'll have to see if control deck is viable. So.
I played against it on Blue Steel, play testing
Mhm.
against it. It always scares me. Every time I see this card getting played, I'm like,
Yeah.
they're definitely gonna find the answer.
Yeah, they find exactly what they need, man. That's what I was playing dig a little deeper in Dallas, and I always just found Dime or Tamatoa. It's perfect.
um, last uh, last card. This is not something I expected, but I saw potential on this as well. Doc Bold Knight.
Yeah, so this one's like, I think Doc Bold Knight is probably my favorite or the card I want to build around the most. Like I'm excited to build around it. I've had some like weird decks that I've been working on every set, like Steel Ruby and then Steel Blue, where it's like only like 1 and 2 cost characters and then like a Beast Mirror. So
Yeah,
like the idea is you just play everything you draw and then Beast Mirror your hand back. And Doc basically does the same thing. Like if you have an empty hand, you don't have to have an empty hand, but basically what he says is you discard your hand and draw 2 cards.
yeah.
So if you have an empty hand, he just says draw 2 cards. So I don't know. I'm excited to try some crazy stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel you because I am a fan of Steel Amber that is not songed, but with like
Yeah, yeah,
super fast
exactly.
curve.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now that we're done with those, we talked about the top 10 cards. I wanna hear your set 5 meta predictions. What do you think is set 5 meta gonna look like?
Um, yeah, man, that's tough. I think Amber Steel is gonna be really good. I think Blue Steel is gonna be really good. Um, I think there'll be some aggro decks for sure. They're gonna be hunted down by those steel decks. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's really tough to say. I think everyone's gonna gravitate towards Amber Steel, in terms of people wanting to like play the best deck, dominate an event. Um, and so inherently that does make Red Blue better. So if Red Blue can find the tools to make up for the aggro weakness, then maybe Red Blue is the meta call. It's
Yeah.
always sort of this cat and mouse game. of what beats what people think is best type thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I do think purple blue or blurple is like better than it's ever been. I don't want to say it's like a meta deck, but I think it's almost there. I think it's
It
almost
has
there.
potential.
Yeah, for sure. I think it could be top tier. I tweeted out that it was top tier, and I'm gonna try to do it. I'm gonna try to make it top tier, but we'll see. It's not up to me.
That's very exciting. I'm excited to see your take on Blurple. But yeah, I think we're gonna see a proper rock paper scissors. Steel Song beats aggro,
for sure.
aggro beats blue red beats Steel Song, and there's gonna be a lot of different versions of that as well. Now, before we go into the last segments, to have some fun with you, another thing that I wanted to ask is, what is your process of deck making? Because you're known in the community as a basically a labsman who sit on the lab, formulate, let's see what we can make with this deck, with this card. What is the process that you go through when doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I think I enjoy alternate decks. Like, I mean, in set one, I was one of the first players playing green steel mill because the idea of an alternate win condition where you just mill your opponent was just so funny. And it was viable. Like, I think it was like decently strong, like for what it was. And from there, I just continued that sort of process of like, man, what is something nobody's playing? So I started playing Mufasa super early on, and I was playing yellow red in set one before Mufasa was out and stuff like that. So, and then more recently, like weight set decks and things like that are just very fun. But like right now it's like, man, everybody's talking about all these different things and nobody's talking about like a Titans deck.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about like a Seven Dwarfs deck. So I mean, I'm not saying they're good, and when I'm gonna go play competitively, I'm not gonna be playing these decks, but they're super fun to mess around with and play with friends and play locals and things like that.
Yeah.
In terms of my process, I just like kind of like focusing on a certain color pairing and thinking about every single deck you can play in that color pairing. So like, for example, if you think about Amethyst Steel, so purple steel, you have Jafar decks and you have aggro decks and you have like blue fairy floodborn decks and things like that. You have broom decks, and then you also have like Titan decks. So like, it's so cool that even though it's like a certain ink identity, you can have like 6 decks, which all of those other than Titans are like actually pretty viable. It's very exciting. And so I don't know, I just love that about Lorcana. I think that's a testament to how well designed the game is that you can have that creativity and almost always end up with like a B tier deck. Like, it's not S tier, but like the fact that you can take games off of a top list, especially if you know how to play against it and counter it with sort of a B tier list, is really fun. So that's kind of what gets me excited.
And doesn't mean that also, I just want to follow up on the B tier stuff. It doesn't mean that it's B tier, it's not capable of winning a tournament. I mean, we've seen Zach Bivens with the bulk deck with Amethyst Steel, right? Like super cheap cards, and it caught the meta off guard. So there's always a chance for B tiers to definitely make it up there. Now, we're gonna go into a segment just to have fun with you. These are 2 10-second segments, so it's going to go by fast, and we can talk about your answers afterwards. This segment is called Ban the Card segment. So there's 6 inks. I'm going to say a name of an ink, and you have 10 seconds to answer what card are you going to ban on that ink. After you've answered the 6 inks, then towards the end, we can discuss if you'd like. If not, we can move on to the next segment. So are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, Ban the Card segment. Number 1, Amber, 10 seconds go.
Amber. I mean, maybe Daisy Duck. I don't know.
That's a good one. Number 2, Amethyst, go.
Probably Madam Mim Fox.
Okay. Number 3, Emerald, 10 seconds go.
Um, maybe Ursula Deceiver, the 2 cost.
Yeah. Number 4, Ruby, go.
Probably Medusa.
Number 5, Steel or Sapphire, go.
Sapphire. Maybe Lucky Dime.
Lucky Dime. Number 6, Steel, go.
Steel. What would I ban in Steel? Maybe Smee.
Smee. That's a pretty good answer. That's the first time we got that, and I like that answer a lot. Would you like to discuss like the picks and stuff really quick? Go over them quickly.
Sure. I mean, I think in general, like I'm pretty hesitant to ban anything.
Mhm.
I think the only one that I would actually like maybe fight to ban is maybe Medusa. But yeah, I mean the other one's just kind of the first thing that came to mind. But yeah, that's about it. I think
Yeah.
Medusa, she turns off a lot of cards that I wish were really good. Like for example, like the blue Sisu that lets you draw cards and things like that.
Yeah.
That card is unplayable because of Medusa and Mim Fox, and so was trying to think of cards that if I banned them, they would improve, not improve, but just make the meta more interesting. So that's kind of was the reason behind my choices.
Yeah. And I'm getting tired of people as well. Every card reveal it dies to Medusa.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure.
It's been a meme that's been going around. We're gonna do another 10-second segment. It's a favorite card segment. So I will basically say that, okay, what is your favorite card on this and that? There's only 5 questions on this one. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. Favorite card, number 1, character to play.
Maybe Hades, Lord of the Underworld, the one that lets you get one from the discard.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. Number 2, character art.
Interesting. I'll name one. I'll name one that's I think is super underrated, and that's Prince Philip Dragonslayer from set 1, the Amber Dragonslayer Prince Philip. It's
The yellow one,
underrated.
yeah.
Yeah. It just looks so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Nobody talks about that card, so I'll mention that one.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear your answers when it comes to these arts, because you're an artist yourself, and it's nice to get your perspective. The next one is probably the most exciting one for an artist like you, is your favorite enchanted card.
Another one that people don't talk about that has incredible artwork is Namari, the steel Namari, where she's like on top of her like saber-tooth guy.
Yeah,
it looks so cool.
Yeah, it's like the perfect amount of simple but very, very nice. There's not a lot of like explosive colors, but it still looks nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The next one is favorite song card, whether to play, or maybe you just love the song, or maybe you love the art of that song.
Well, I really like the art of Hakuna Matata, and I really like that song, but the card is not very good, so that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
But I really like playing We Don't Talk About Bruno. Like that's a fun card to play.
Yeah. The art is really nice as well for We Don't Talk About Bruno. The last one is your favorite item. Again, whether it's art or the play, or it's just your favorite item because it's from your favorite movie.
Yeah, let me think about that. Favorite item. It's probably Popsicle, but I'll say Weight Set, because why not? For the memes.
Or the memes.
Yeah.
Also, it just fits you so much playing cards like that.
Well, I don't know if it fits me. I'm not exactly the most buff guy around.
Oh, no. I mean, in terms of gameplay.
I understand.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this interview. I've been looking forward to getting this chat with you. And also, I just want to remind everyone before we got the final words from Steadfast here. I just want to remind everyone to click down on the description below, because we're gonna have all the links for Steadfast there in order for you guys to follow, subscribe, and check out his content. I highly recommend it. If you guys like my content, you're definitely gonna like his content a lot as well, because this dude right here is one, if not the first one, that I subscribed to during the time of Disney Lorcana when it was opening. He helped me a lot through his videos, and like what I said, this is not just a creator to creator collaboration. This is also a fan getting to talk to someone he looks up to, and thank you very much for that, Steadfast. Is there anything you want to say to our audience before we finish this interview?
I think that's all, man. I mean, I just encourage everybody to keep playing, supporting the game. Even if you're playing online or whatever, go buy some cards, support Lorcana, and most importantly, support your stores and the community that this type of game can build. And yeah, make sure to subscribe to Loremeisters as well. You gotta give him some love.
All right. Well, thank you again. I appreciate this a lot, and I hope we see you again in the future. Maybe 4 or 5 sets from now, we'll do this again. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And if you did, don't forget to comment down below what you think about the stuff that we talk about. And again, links and stuff, check those out. Other than that, we will see you guys on the next video. Peace.